Okay, so I need help. I just can't live one day of my life without playing at least 5 matches of this fucking game, and that shit's driving me crazy most part of the time. Because, you know, if you play this game, you know what I'm talking about. Like matches where you got those tilted DPS who just do one thing to the entire game, it is not dealing damage to the enemy, but complaining in the chat. But although having all these troubles, I can't help myself. Because the game, besides being extremely fun to play and enjoyable, it has 2 things I like the most: comic book characters and cakes. And oh boy, I mean a lot of cake. No, I'm not a gunner. I just like to appreciate a good bakery when I see one. Yeah, boy. Anyway, I won't lie here. When the beta of this game came out, I had no hopes on it. I really thought that it would just be another flop, another Concord. But then the release came out, and boy, I was playing non-stop for a whole month. I didn't know how to properly stop playing this shit, man. Honestly, I think I grinded 100 hours of this game in less than 2 weeks, and it's insane. It's insane. That's fucking insane. And when I thought things would get better and I would just leave the game for a while, that's when I discovered this, the character proficiency tab. And any game that has master resistance with character just drives me crazy. I can't stand but to try to get this shit with every character possible. So now I declare my master challenge for this game and for these years, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna get lured with every single hero and make a video of each one of these heroes for the purpose to entertain each one of you and also try to help some of you guys who wants to play with the hero. I'm not saying that I'm gonna be professional with this hero, but I kind of have a pretty good learnability, if that's even a word, with playing with new characters, you know, except when it comes to aim. I'm kind of shit at aim. My main quest here is to basically become Mr. Marvel myself. I want to basically become the one above all guy who has every single hero in the palm of my hand. And I know that made you interested enough to at least want to see some of my videos getting lured with this character. So make sure to subscribe here and be part of that crazy adventure of mine. And now, since I'm gonna start this challenge, which heroes should I choose to start first? Well, nothing better to start with than with one of my favorite Marvel characters. I mean, when I opened this game and saw my man Eric Lesher, aka Magneto, aka Magnus, aka Max Eisenhardt, looking like a freaking German god of the magnetism, I knew I had to firstly main this character. So that was the first character I actually got lured in it. Unfortunately, I don't have that much recordings of the process itself, but I recorded some matches after I got lured with him to make this video. And I gotta tell y'all that the journey to get lured with Magneto did not disappoint me even for a second. This character is gold in design, playability, voicing, and one of the best things of the game, which is the class I'm better playing with. You know, playing with Vanguard in this game means high testosterone all the fucking time. I mean, you're the one who receives all the dicks in your chest and the one who opens the way to your entire team to invade the base. You basically the hero shooter Moses, you know what I'm saying? Now, I had no problems in getting lured with Magneto because the character is just fun to play with, for me at least. Of course, at some point I would just get bored at playing with this character so much, because for me, when I play with one character for 30 matches straight, normally my brain will start to crave for something different. Well, anyway, just like everyone else, when I started playing Magneto, I had no idea how efficient he could be in a match. So at the beginning, I would just go to the front line, shield up as soon as I had my shield, try to shoot some fellas with my metal balls, and I would always use the magnetism bubble on myself to protect myself, you know what I'm saying? Now for the ult, it took me like 10 matches to discover that he stacked the projectiles. So in my mind, the damage was purely based on the charging time, which broke me a lot at the beginning of the matches against Punisher, because every time I heard Judge Jury, my reflex was to instantly press Q to try to protect my teammate. But he would just explode my ult in a second, and I could not process it, what the fuck just happened, you know what I'm saying? But after I got the swing of it, I could simply destroy games with his ultimate and make everyone actually fear Magneto. I mean, his ultimate can be a game set skill if you know how to use properly. So if you, my little maggot, wanna be a fucking professional Magneto player, then ask tips from a professional player, because that ain't my case, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no professional player, I just like play with the character. But I'll leave here some of my experience, advice about the character that I think is gonna help you climb Elo like a rocket, or you're just gonna drown in bronze, you know?
How are you? I am under the water.
Okay, so to start off, let me tell the ways you can properly use some of his skills depending on the matchups and situational game. Like, I don't need to tell exactly what each skill does, because if you click this video you probably know, but just in case you don't get lost, I'm gonna summarize some of his skill effects and tell you how to effectively use each one of it. For his primary attack, well, you know, you shoot and the attack explodes at certain meters. Now, most part of the time I would abuse on the fact that it's a mid-range attack, and while tank out the damage on the front line, I'll try to focus my attacks entirely at the squishy healer in the enemy's backline, like the healers or the DPS, you know. Now, unlike Strange that try to focus entirely on the front line and backline, Magneto has the bubble shield ability, which makes him a totally different tank type, you know, since the ability can save so many allies from dying. So trying to stay aware of all your surroundings will not only give you advantage on the position of the enemy, but also understand what's going on. This vision in this game is fucking important, and nobody knows that shit, bro. Like, knowing if a flanker is trying to approach your team, or if an ally is trying to engage their backline, or if a Moon Knight is hidden waiting for the perfect time to destroy your team mental with Conscious Meteor.
Nope.
And all this kind of information makes total difference, and it's gonna separate your bronze ass from a high elo player. So as an example, notice how every time I reload my primary attack with Magneto, since it takes a pretty long time to do so and it doesn't have an animation cancel like Strange, I like to take advantage of the time to take a look at my surroundings. But of course, you need to understand that if you balance,ly do that without paying attention at the front line and backline, you can simply die pretty quickly, or let your allies die because you weren't shielding at the right time. So only look at your surrounding while reloading when you notice some missing DPS at the other team, because that's kind of suspicious. That's the suspicious time where you gotta be aware of what the fuck is happening. Now, for his secondary attack, well, if you don't know this little bar at the crosshair are your metal stacks. When you have 3 of it, using the ability will push the enemy away. And there's a very simple little combo you can do where after pushing the enemy, you get a free hit with your primary attack, which helps in specific times you want to execute those annoying rats that keeps zigzagging you all the time, bro. But what else you can use this ability for is stopping some engage from diver heroes and flankers. Trust me, that helps a lot. Since the push can cancel dashes, if you have a good vision and reaction, you can save your team a lot with this simple skill. Now, for his shield, it's a very situational shield. Like with Strange, normally you just spam his shield and block the incoming damage no matter the time. But with my man Eric, things were different. I noticed that instead of instantly activating the shield at the moment that I crashed the other team, it was more effectively using it in some crucial skills and time. What do I mean by that? Well, when you have a Moon Knight in the other team, for example, the simple mind of a Moon Knight player always have the same thoughts. I see a group, I throw an anchor, and I shoot the anchor. So as a Magneto, every time I notice Moon Knight throwing an anchor, I would get in front of the anchor itself and block all Moon Knight's attacks into the anchor, blocking all the damage from Moon Knight into my backline, you know, giving enough time for my team to notice the anchor and then destroy it. Well, that would be the perfect scenario, but do you really think people destroy Moon Knight's anchor in Diamond? You're fucking wrong, man. But this was just a simple example for Moon Knight specifically, since it's easier to explain that way. But there's a lot of matchups I save my shield for crucial things, like for example, Buck's hook, Raccoon's infinity ammo for Buck and Punisher, because that shit is just fucking broken. Well, Namor's ult, if you didn't know about it, it can actually block Namor's ult, but to do so, you're gonna need to shield towards the middle of his ult. Another ult that you can also block with his shield is Strange's ult. But here's the thing, if you get too close to Strange when he's ulting, the shield won't block. You need to be at a certain distance. Also, you can use it to block Punisher's ult for 3 seconds, which is the time the shield lasts, and give enough time for your team to find cover or actually try to burst Punisher. That seems to be the best choice most part of the time. So as you can see, Magneto's shield is a simple skill but crucial in specific times, and since it lasts based on time and not damage, you can abuse of the mechanic, because Strange as example won't last a second against Punisher's ult, but my man Eric can take it off for 3 seconds. Like, that's a real chat thing. Okay, but now we gotta talk about one of his most important ability, the bubble shield. This one here separates kids from men. Knowing how to use the bubble properly will instantly climb you up to diamond, and I am not fucking kidding. First of all, y'all need to understand that the bubble gets you invulnerability to any crowd control effect. Now, when should I use the shield? In my experience, using it for myself was the last thing I would do. It was only if I knew that staying alive in that moment would be crucial. Now, when I knew they had a flanker, I would save my bubble to protect my healers from the flankers. Being that a Panther, a Spider-Man, a Psylocke, having your bubble for your healers when against a flanker is the best thing you can do. Cause if a healer is dead, you're dead. You know what I'm saying? And when the other team did not have a flanker, I would save it for my team's engage. And I gotta tell you, if you get an actual good Thor player as a duo or a diver vanguard hero, just spam that bubble on the diver every time he engages. Like, I mean, that combo goes hard if you play it properly. So knowing how to use your bubble properly, when to use, and who you're gonna use in it is such a game changer for Magneto, you have no idea. And now the ultimate. I remember at the beginning of this game how a lot of people without understanding Magneto's ultimate would just call it one of the worst ult in the game, and you cannot deny that shit actually happened. Now, I can say to you that, especially in this moment we're living it, where the meta is 3 healers, Magneto ult is simply one of the best ult to have in the game. And well, if you still don't know how the ult works properly, basically you're gonna charge this giant ball of metal. The longer it charges, the more damage it does. But at the same time, it absorbs projectiles. And the more projectiles it absorbs, the more damage it does. Now, both damage being the projectile stack and the durability of the ult itself summarize into a total damage. So basically, if you are lucky enough to stack exact 100 projectiles and let the ult charge until the last second, the ult will deal exact 600 damage. But of course, the hypothetical scenario will never happen in your life, since when it overstacks more than 100 projectiles, which you can see at the crosshair, the ult simply explodes and you lose it. And the fact that the ult explodes was one of the reasons of why everyone thought it was a shitty ult, because normally people just pay attention to the charging bar instead of paying attention to the absorption bar, and that will make them lose the ult with no idea of what the fuck just happened. So put in your mind that when ulting with Magneto, you need to focus your attention entirely at the absorption bar, because once the duration ends, the ult will be thrown anyway, you know what I'm saying? So now that you know about that simple concept, when should you actually use his ult? First, never out of nowhere, like, oh my god, I just got my ult, I should use it now. Don't ever do that shit, man, because Magneto ult takes a long time to charge up unless you got a Wanda in your team. And put in your mind that you are not gonna have a Wanda in every match that you play. So comparing to others' ultimate, Magneto's ult takes a long time to charge. So save it to decisive times. Like, his ultimate can burst any duelist or strategist, especially strategists, no matter who it is. The only motherfucker who can actually counter Magneto's ultimate if he plays well is Adam Warlock, but people don't even know how to play this motherfucker, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, when it comes to the meta strategist and nowadays, Magneto's ult completely destroys them. Like, for example, Luna's ult doesn't make her invulnerable to damage, so a well-charged Magneto ult can easily kill her. You just need to be aware of the shield she gets when ulting. Normally, you need to wait for your team to burst the shield so that you can make sure you can kill her. And as for Mantis, we have the same concept. Mantis also get a shield when ulting. Now for Dagger, it's way easier to hit her, since at the end of every dash, she stops for a second, turning her into an easy target, you know what I'm saying? Now, another ultimate that you can stop with Magneto's ultimate, but basically 90% of the Magneto's players doesn't know how to fucking properly do this, is against Punisher's ult. And I can't blame this player, because in this situation, you gotta be very careful, since Punisher's ult absolutely devours your ult. So you need to make sure you know where the Punisher is shooting from, aim directly at him, and at the moment you see the bar reaching 80%, just throw it back at the Punisher. It'll 100% kill the Punisher.
Fear Magneto!
Bigot. Ingrate. Sick
sycophant worm. So small I could smite you with a step.
Magneto!
Also we got Star-Lord, and that one is trickery. Star-Lord ult does not charge your absorption bar as faster as Punisher. So all you need to do is wait for Star-Lord to get closer to a wall or a surface and throw the ult near him that the area damage will be able to kill him. And if the map doesn't allow you to do so, absorb his ult as much as you can and trade kills with the other team. Because the Star-Lord will probably still be able to kill 1 or 2 people, so you just need to trade those kills, you know what I'm saying? And one more ult that people actually overrate when playing with Magneto is Iron Man's ult. If you keep paying attention to Iron Man, you can simply stop his ult with your shield, since most part of the time it will break your metal ball and you won't be able to use it effectively. So be conscious if it's gonna be necessary or not, you know? And that was basically all the things I learned by getting lured with Magneto. Like, he's a tank, but an utility tank, where while you're stopping the damage, you need to be constantly supporting your team. So having a good vision of the game will most likely make you a good Magneto player. And just ignore all those shitty DPS mans who only counts damage and kills as the most important stats of the game. That's not the fucking most important stat of the game. Understand that Magneto is not a tank to be aggressive, but extremely defensive and supporting. KDA doesn't necessarily means winning the match, and what you wanna do in this game is win the match, not get as much kill as you can. Also, the worst type of matchup you can go against with Magneto are when the other team have only melee character. That makes the game almost unplayable with Magneto. You can still like be useful, but you will not have the total effectiveness of the character, since there won't be any projectiles to absorb the ult, and his shield doesn't stop melee attack, only the bubble shield. So in times like this, it's better change the character, but it's a very rare thing to happen. So thanks guys for watching this video to the end. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see me getting lured with every character, and I hope I'll see you, and until Sunday.
I'll make it leap from your hand and make you its target. Now!
Not this time, Magneto. This time I'm fighting for real.
I'm helpless. Magnetism. It was my greatest weapon.